From the deep, dark reaches of Star Trek Online comes Nikitas, Tabitha, and Greebog with another episode of Fleet Action Report.
Welcome to Fleet Action Report, the show where we don't just play the game, but we teach you how to play the game in a goofy manner.
I'm Tabitha, that was Nikitas, and up next is Greebog.
All right, this is episode 180, Fractions Upon Factions. And as always, you can, if you want to support us, being here is support. Chatting with us while we are doing the show, or even lurking. Or if you would like to help us financially, we have a coffee. You can buy us a coffee. That's essentially their thing. It's ko-fi.com/GREBOG. And then you can, help us out. Any financial donations are always fed back into either hardware or software or ships or anything that helps the show go smoothly. Well, damn. I guess I shouldn't make that promise. We will try to make it go smoothly, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, many of our issues that we used to have seem, knock on wood here, seem to be a thing of the past for the most part.
Well, hey, since Nikitas has started, how was your week and what have you been up to?
I am dealing with a work-related injury that has had me off of my feet for the most part. It's been a thing. I fell out of one of our ambulances, and on the 17th, fell out of one of our ambulances and kind of rolled my right ankle. And I'm still dealing with that. I have had 2 rounds of x-rays. I have had an MRI. Apparently I have torn some ligaments and pulled some tendons. They're saying 12 weeks, but my week has essentially been various appointments and trying to get work in. They've got me doing desk duty, which if anybody's been on light duty before, where you organize paperwork and go through this, that, and the other, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But it's what I've been doing. That has been my week. Not a whole lot of gaming done. I tried to sit at my computer and play WoW and STO a bit, and I just couldn't. Sitting up is hard. I am sitting up right now. We will see how long my foot lets me tolerate this, although I do have a little stool over here that I can prop it up on, which does help a bit. So there is that. But that's been my week. Hopefully you guys have had more fun. How has your week been, Tabby?
My week has been pretty good. I've been playing some World of Warcraft. I'm finally geared enough to be in normal, to not have to. So basically, my raid team, because my really busy schedule, I'm not really able to do the gearing grind outside of raid. So my raid team and I came to an agreement where pretty much I would come in for farm content, and if we hit a point where where it was carrying me was causing difficulty, I would sit out. More than fair. But I've gotten enough drops from the farming to where I am pretty much on level for the raid, so I shouldn't have to really be sitting out anymore.
Yay.
I'm like 445 now.
Nice.
So I'm really excited about that. And tomorrow is the last day of my vacation. I've been on vacation for a full week. And next week is going to be incredibly busy. And it's going to be the start of an incredibly busy, pretty much first half of the year. So I'm really just kind of eating up the vacation.
Busy.
That's the torch passed over to Greebog, I do believe.
It is.
So me, what have I been doing? I don't know. um, Playing WoW, like Tabby. My guild. So I run with two teams. My paladins on one, my DKs, a tank for another. We had some complaints about continuing to run normal on the team with my DK. I am trying to get a compromise because my team has always been in the past willing to help those when they put in legendary items that drop from the final boss, that we will continually farm said final boss in an efficient manner. Whether that mean we keep doing that final boss on normal, or we go we got it now where we can do it on heroic. Well, we're not there on progression and heroic, so yeah, since some people are not happy about continuing with normal, I've compromised. I'm gearing a second DK because I'm strange, and I'm going to.
DKs are pretty awesome.
I'm going to basically save a lockout. We already have the skip, but I'm going to save a lockout so that way we don't have to kill even all of the bosses that you can skip. So that yeah. So like we could start at Smolderon instead of having to kill the skip. You can't use until you've killed the first two bosses, which I think is a little interesting, but whatever. But yeah, just trying to save some time, and so I was gonna gear up a second DK, just enough to do normal. Outside of that, I've been playing STO. I been working on a jelly build, trying to get a lazy boat set up on the KDF side, and yeah, I've not really set up a jellyfish before. I was hoping. I was going through, like, I know other content creators have made, videos on their lazy boats. So I do not have all of the stuff and things that they use. They have consoles and ships that I do not have access to, so I don't have all of the stuff they utilize. So I'm kind of coming up with my own. I may have to talk to somebody else that has a pretty decent lazy boat on the jellyfish. But outside of that, yeah. Let's see.
Lazy boat.
Well, I mean, you sit there in jellyfish mode and you just wreck everything. Yeah.
It doesn't get lazier boat than that.
Yeah.
Isn't it electric damage? Isn't that the AoE damage that you deal?
Electric damage, and also there is so you can't really use there are certain plus damage things that do not count for the jellyfish in the jellyfish mode. So you have to think about it a little bit more than just stacking plus weapon damage.
I was thinking all damage, stacking all damage, although I kind of wonder if EPG would work.
I don't know that I don't know. I want to talk to a couple people to make sure I'm understanding things correctly.
Well, when you get it figured out, why don't we do an episode of it so we can share your knowledge with everybody?
That's a good idea.
That was kind of my thought. That I've started a spreadsheet that is hidden into myself right now.
Nice.
Because, well, I'm gonna start a spreadsheet because we're probably gonna do this build someday, and this also gives me a way to work on it. But yeah,
We'll just call it Far's Lazy Night.
or peanut butter and jelly night.
Oh, there you go. That's a better name. See, this is why you name the episodes and I don't.
Who's bringing the peanut butter?
All right,
Anyway.
So this week in STO.
Yes, Q's Winter Wonderland is still going on. You still have sometimes to get your completions in. Though obviously you do not have enough time to get all of your completion, all 20 in. But I mean, you have what until January 4th to get your completions done. And this ship, everyone I keep hearing talk about this ship, they are loving it. It is a pretty good ship, so if you can, I highly recommend trying to get this ship. I know the bio is a big problem for many because this time the buyout is Lobby, and not a lot of people have Lobby sitting around. But the Temerian Deep Space Cruiser is a pretty nice ship, from what everyone's been saying.
I unlocked it, but I haven't flown it yet. So on the 21st, they started the Phoenix Prize Pack event. Claim your daily free pack in-game for your chance at great rewards. Woo! It started a week ago, and it lasts until January 2nd. So you can still do that. Go get your free prize pack, and maybe you'll get really, really lucky and get a ship out of it.
And we are at a tech upgrade weekend going on. Every tech upgrade used will apply twice as many technology points toward your next upgrade. 12/27, which was yesterday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern time, the only time zone that matters. All the way through January 2nd at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern.
And then we have the galaxy is going to go to red alert here on the 4th of January, which is right when the winter event ends. So we will go from Q's Winter Wonderland right into blowing up Borg, well, all of them. And I'm sure in the future someday they will fix the fail condition on the one, but it probably will not happen this time. Yeah, you'll have 2 weeks to earn the progress. They have not told us what the claim great rewards is out of the event yet. But it'll go from January 4th to January 18th.
It's usually what, like
a tier 6 ship upgrade, a spec point, and sometimes an ultimate upgrade. Or something.
This is a 2-week long event, so although they have messed this up before too, but typically the 2-week long events require 10 days of progress, and they give you all 3 rewards. But again, they have messed that up before, so we'll see.
What? No, they don't mess these things up. They work exactly as they're intended.
Tabby, you're up with the next one there.
Let's see, bonus marks event. Earn more marks for your fleet or reputation during the bonus marks event. January 4th at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Through the 18th at 12 p.m. Pacific. Or 3 a.m. Eastern. That's what, 50% extra bonus marks, if I remember correctly?
Yes, I believe so.
And that's only from activities. That's not from like crates and stuff like that.
Yeah, no boxes.
No boxes.
All right, and there are some sales going on. PC captains get a 20% bonus Zen purchase until January 2nd. Xbox and PlayStation gets 20% off Zen packs for that same, well, almost that same time frame. I don't know why they did this a little different this time around. So Xbox lasts until January 1st. PlayStation lasts until January 5th. And the Epic Game Store for PC has a sale going until the 10th. So it's all over the place, and that's really unusual. But hey, take advantage of it while you can. There's also 20% off on ships in the dilithium store, along with vanity shields for dilithium until January 2nd. We're a little confused about that dilithium store because technically there are not ships available in the dilithium store. But if you go to a shipyard, there are ships there that you can buy for dilithium. And that's actually where that sale appears to be taking place. So it's not in the dilithium store, it is at a shipyard. Take that as you will. Um, let's see what else we got. The giftable ship coupons are back. You can buy a pack of 3 at 25% off and then use those for yourself, or you can actually trade those to a friend if you so choose. That also lasts until January 2nd. Keys and the keyring bundle are back at 25% off until the 29th, so that actually ends tomorrow. Um, and then R&D and duty officer packs are also on sale, 25% off. That starts tomorrow and ends New Year's Eve. So take advantage of the sales while you can, and good luck. All right, so that is it for this week in STO. We are moving on to our primary target. So we have not talked about the various factions in the game for a long time, and yes, I know this is very basic information, but we decided to go ahead and hit this again and talk about the differences between the 3 factions. And Tabby gets to start us off here.
Right. Yeah. We decided to go ahead and talk about the different because I mean one of the premises of our show is talking about basic things because for newcomers to the game. So one of the fundamental factions of the game is the Federation, United Federation of Planets. It's the one that we all know, that we all love, the flagship of the game, if you will. What makes the Federation unique? Well, they have multiple sub factions. I'm pretty sure more sub factions than any other of the others. They have more races than any of the others, though most of them, actually, I don't want to say most, but a good number of them cost Zen, and they do have most of the faction appropriate ships. Now for the sub factions, you have Discovery Starfleet, TOS Starfleet, and there, I could have sworn there was one other one. I feel like there was a third.
Actually, I thought so too, but there does not appear to be.
At the creation screen, that's all they had listed when I put them into the notes. That does not
Okay.
mean there isn't when creating in one of these, you don't have an option for a technically hidden other option like that's or subfaction.
Okay. Now, both of these factions do start off in different times, and through the course of the storytelling, you are joined up with the 2409 storyline timeline, and there are several locations that you can visit in the Federation. One of those being Earth Space Dock, which is shown here. You can also go and visit Starfleet Academy.
Something wrong?
I had to
What?
fix something because I there it's fixed. Abby's screen is showing properly.
Nice.
I switched from give Tabby the big screen, and apparently I still had it set up for Michigan when you are on the laptop.
Oh, gotcha. You can also visit Starfleet Academy, which you'll also see plenty of when you first start off your character. If you play a Discovery character, you'll see plenty of Discovery area Starfleet Academy as well. You'll also see a little bit of Vulcan, a small area of Vulcan, for as well as you can also get cultural and diplomatic missions there. Andoria, not there's some PvP content over there, and then Risa, which has leisure and non-event zones, and then the summer event also takes place over on Risa. And the now the Federation starships are ultimately usable by all factions, um, especially like Klingons. Once you get Klingons up to level 65, and you unlock cross-faction flying, you can also unlock cross-faction flying with Zen, but save yourself some money and just level up a Klingon to level 65, a Federation to 65, unlock cross faction flying for free, and use all the ships with everybody. But Federation ships use matter-antimatter cores, which if you need an example of that on your warp core slot, on your ship slot, you look at the warp core, it's right there. On to you, Nicholas.
Okay, so I'm going to back up just for a second to clarify a point. The matter-antimatter cores are used by most of the races in the game. They're the standard engine core. The only reason I even put them down on the list is because the Romulans are different, which we will get to here shortly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Romulans got to be special.
Yeah, well, they're Romulans. They are special. So the Romulan Republic is a faction that is unique to STO. You won't see that in any of the shows or novels or comic books. At least nothing that was around before STO. If there are comics and books and stuff that have that out now, I don't know anything about it. But I know for a fact the Romulan Republic is not mentioned in any of the movies or shows as of yet. I'm hopeful, but not holding my breath. It is the storyline that makes this faction the most unique. There are a few other differences, which I'll get into here momentarily, but the biggest thing is the storyline. Currently,
Well, that way because the storyline is also the biggest storyline.
Well, it is, and it's the most complete storyline in the game right now. Now, at one point in time, that was arguable with the Federation, but when they went through and removed a whole bunch of content, there's just too much missing from the Federation storyline. And the Klingons have the opposite issue. When the Klingons were first out, they didn't have a storyline. And then later there was a storyline added in for them, but again, it was added after the fact. So sometimes it still feels piecemeal, like there's parts missing. But the Romulan Republic was brought into the game with a complete story from beginning to end. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it starts here from the ashes. This is your introduction, at the end of which you pick your faction. You pick if you want to side with the Klingons or if you want to side with the Fed. But then you go through Allies, In Shadows, Wasteland, Vengeance, and Freedom, where you actually end the Romulan storyline. So you have a complete storyline, beginning, middle, and end that walks you through this complete picture, and it is the most complete story in the game. It's also well worth playing. If you have not made a Romulan character yet and gone through the story, I highly recommend it. So like the Federation, we have a few places that we can visit. We do have a base, which is arguably between two different areas. And this is one right here where I'm at in game. This is the Romulan Flotilla. For a good portion of the Romulan story, this is the only zone where you can come to and like buy things and customize your appearance and get ships and whatnot. There is another place that it is introduced later. But this is kind of the Romulans' version of Earth space stock. Go ahead.
No, that was me coughing.
Oh, okay. Sorry, thought you said something.
That's
So
fine.
this is the shipyard here where you can customize your ships. You can go right through this doorways here, and this is where you have a lot of your vendors. Like here's your clothing, your train your bridge officers, and your purchase of your bridge officers. There's also your temporal agent is also located here, and they do not move this individual. They will always be at this spot, which is right here. So if you ever need to talk to the temporal agent, this is your guy, Sub Commander Kale.
Oddly, not at the other
yeah,
location.
I know, right? Which, like I said, this is kind of their version of ESD, so I kind of get it. But for storyline purposes, it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense that it doesn't get moved. I mean, Detan's here too, which also doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he should be at his office, I would think. But, you know, whatever. I guess this would be like ESD, and the command center would be more of like the academy, I guess. The other two places you can go are New Romulus, which actually has a storyline there that all three factions, or all four factions, can access, and the Romulan Republic Command Center, which again is kind of like their version of the academy, I guess. It's a little weird. The only playable race options are Romulan, Reman, the Liberated Borg Romulan, which you have to be a veteran for, and the Alien. Actually, I'm on a Liberated Borg Romulan right now. Each of these, the Romulan, Reman, and Liberated Borg have a innate trait set up. The Romulan gets a bonus to cloaking and damage when coming out of cloak. They have a physical damage bonus. The Remans are only ground bonus, but they deal with expose and exploit a little bit. So if you're trying to do expose exploit build, go with the Remans. The Liberated Borg, we have a warp core efficiency bonus for space and health and shield regen on the ground. And then the Alien, like the aliens with the other factions, you do not have a trait, an innate trait per se. Instead, you have an extra trait slot for ground and space. And a lot of people will tell you that is the absolute best way to go. Let's see, where was I? After completing the intro story, you get to choose your faction. I already talked about that. The only thing this affects is where your home base is, being like, do you have access to Earth space dock, or do you have access to the Klingons' first city, and uniform choices. It does not affect what storylines you have access to in the game, or what ships you can fly or anything like that. It is merely just the cosmetic uniform choice and where you can access, what zones you can access. It's also worth noting, I skipped over this, it's also worth noting that the Romulans and Remans have access to some of the telepathic traits. Some of those are worth using on certain builds, so keep that in mind too. Now, I will mention this. So arguably the best bridge officers in the game are the officers that have access to the superior Romulan operative trait, this trait right here. The other factions in the game can only get these officers from the fleet embassy, and they can be kind of pricey. The Romulan Republic characters can get these guys for free. Basically, as you level, you're given the option of recruiting bridge officers, and some of those bridge officers will have this trait already. You can also go to the area I showed you where you can purchase bridge officers and try to track one down that way.
Regardless of how you do it, this is easier than having to buy them through the embassy. There was also a glitch that had these stacking more efficiently than the ones that are purchased from the embassy. I tried to look that up today. I don't know if that is still a thing, but it used to be a feature, not a bug. Okay, so then the ships. So let me beam back to my ship real quick. So these are the ships that are different because we're Romulans and we just had to be different. Instead
Romulan
of
ships are better too.
arguably, arguably, instead of utilizing a matter-antimatter core, we use these, the singularity cores. The difference being the power levels that we get tend to be 40 points less than anybody else. So when we do our power level spreads over here, we have to be a little more stingy with them. Normally you can have one at 100 and one at 70, but being Romulan, I've got one at 100 and one at 30, which is the best I can do because you're missing those 40 points. The thing that makes up for it are these 5 powers right here. We have the plasma shockwave, which is an AoE damage, the quantum absorption, which is temporary hit points and shield regen, and that's probably the one that I use the most. The warp shadow gives you a teleport, and it creates a copy of your ship that will taunt nearby enemies. A singularity jump, which just jumps you 5 kilometers in the direction you're facing, and then it also repels, damages, and debuffs any enemies that are in the AoE. And then there's an energy weapon singularity overcharge, which is just a buff to all weapons. It increases your weapon power, your weapon damage, and it sets the power drain to 0. So it's a nice little boost. That I did not know. Greebog says there are some Riemann bridge officers that can also come with superior Romulan operative. I was not aware of that.
I have a couple on one of my guys. Though I want to note one thing. Like, there is a special build out there that works around Infiltrator and stacking each of its rarities, I guess would be the way to put it. The basic, regular, and then superior Infiltrator, because it stacks that way. And yeah, that only comes from Riemann bridge officers.
See, this is why I keep you around. Now, it's the last thing I want to mention about the Warbirds is these ships are accessible to all captains in the game, regardless of faction, and you don't even have to unlock cross-faction flying. They were designed that way from the get-go. Romulan ships are available to everybody. And that is it for what I had down about the Romulan Republic. So I'm going to switch over to my. This was my Fed aligned Romulan. I'm going to switch over to my KDF aligned Romulan and pass the torch to Greebog.
All right. I have Victory is Life, or I mean Dominion. I'm here on my Dominion. So what makes the Dominion different? There are technically, when creating a tune, only 2 options. Now, one of them you have to buy. You can either create a Jem'Hadar, flat plain Jem'Hadar, or you can create a Jem'Hadar Vanguard, which will cost you, if you just are buying the race, 600 Zen. It did also come in the, I believe it's an expansion pack. Or no, yeah. Oh, the game of Vanguard pack. You could unlock it that way as well. That also gave you all of the initial ships and all that stuff that they released in that pack. You also start at level 60 instead of the base of 1. By the time you get out of the intro story and you get to choose your faction, you are roughly 62. Um, I would highly encourage you to go through the story in the Gamma Quadrant arc as well, because once you complete that, so when you first start out, you have a drug addiction to Ketracel White. It I mean, which you see in DS9. You know that they kept that in the game. That is still a thing. Your addiction. They I'm not going to tell you why or how it happens, but through story, eventually you lose the side effects of being addicted to it. And what I mean is, so when Ketracel White, the buff wears off, you get the shakes. Your character starts like shifting side to side, and just yeah, you're going
You
through
look
withdrawal.
drunk.
Yeah. So again, you don't. There are only technically everyone gets to play the Gamma Quadrant arc. The Engineered for War is the only story arc that you have to your faction alone, and there's 3 missions. At the end, once you do the tide, you are given the option to align yourself with the Federation or align yourself with the Klingon Defense Force, and then on you go. Now, I didn't realize this until I had started digging in research and finding out what's different. Apparently, when you start up, there is a difference in your, I guess, the startup pack you get. I have not respect this guy, which is why he is set up the way he is. He is a tactical, and this means you have a certain set of skills they preset you with for space and ground. It may not be the meta, but it is what it's not a terrible one to start with. And if you want something different, you can easily respec. But for tactical, you also start with the primary specialization, intel maxed out, and command as your secondary. And I've already unlocked a few others doing stuff and things, but yeah. Engineer starts with the specializations, Miracle Worker as a primary, command as secondary. Here, you also get a couple reps maxed out, and I think this guy has already, or I guess not maxed out, they're at tier 5. So Tactical gets Omega at 5 and Iconian at 5. And then for R&D, you get already at level 15, you get beams, cannons, and ground weapons. For Engineer, like I was saying, the specialization, you get Miracle Worker, primary, command, secondary. The rep you get is Omega and Nukara at level 5. And R&D at level 15 is beams, engineering, shields. Science, you get Intel as your primary, command as your secondary. Nukara at level 5, Iconian rep at level 5, and then R&D you get projectiles at level 15, science 15, shields 15. So those are some of the different things. You also will get 1 free tier 5 ship, and and for your home base, since we've been talking about that, essentially, I guess you could call. I guess you could call the Gamma Quadrant your home base. Technically, you have no home to go to other than DS9, which here I'll go through the wormhole. And yeah, DS9 is probably the closest thing that you have as a headquarters for your faction for the Dominion, because yeah. Story-wise, you're part of the Dominion. You're more the best way to describe it is you are part of Odo's faction of the Dominion. Though I guess technically, you can play story-wise anything you want, but Okay, so for personal traits, you also get. Let's see, where is it? All the personal. You have one. Where is engineered for?
It
It's
would
not
be in the
soldier.
ease.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not seeing the.
I think, isn't soldier the weaker version?
Yeah. I'm
And then
not seeing
engineered
it.
for-
It. I know the bridge officers. It's called engineered for like here. If I go to him, they get engineered soldier, which at ground and space. Okay, so there are different Jem'Hadar bridge officers. There's Vanguard ones you can buy from the Zen store. They come with both ground and space, plus crit severity, plus crit chance, and increased damage for ground and space. The standard Jem'Hadar only has the ground, and that is same with also the playable race. You only get ground if you only are a standard Jem'Hadar. If you are a Vanguard, you also have the ability for you also get that as well for space. And I thought it was a separate trait. Maybe is it baked in?
It might be. That could be. I was just switching over to check.
And you also get Shroud as an ability, which that is a ground ability that gives you stealth for 60 seconds and gives you plus 300% bonus damage on your first attack after you Shroud, which will obviously pop you out of your stealth. So if you want to sneak up on someone and do massive damage on your first hit, that's the way to go.
It is baked in. It's under the details. It says Jem'Hadar Vanguard are designed and intended for the most intense combat encounters and feature enhanced space combat techniques. It says for space, we get bonus weapon damage, crit chance, and crit severity. And then for ground, we get bonus damage for ranged weapons, melee attacks, crit chance, and crit severity. So it's pretty potent.
Yeah. Now the basic Jem'Hadar, they only get the ground version. So it's kind of like I don't want to begin that now. It's kind of like the bridge officer traits. Yes, we're discussing Jem'Hadar because that's the way I roll.
I Nimue.
As for ships, yeah, they utilize the Matter-Antimatter cores, just like Federation and so on. Now, there are some special ships that they put into game. A lot of these, if you notice here, I pulled it up. So you're looking at the mastery here. So the Vanguard ships, they have other special features, but the ship mastery goes to 6. To unlock the ships, the Jem'Hadar Vanguard ships for playing on any other faction, you have to any other tune on your account, doesn't matter what faction, you have to get the ship master all the way out. But once you do, you can claim that ship on any of them. Now, this is not true on all Vanguard ships. It is only on the initial pack of Vanguard ships. The reason I'm noting this is because they added in the legendary Vanguard ship in here. Let's see. If I go into... So they also add in the recon ship. I'm pretty sure the recon ship mastery. I'm going to scroll down to see. I'm pretty sure it does not... Yeah, it does not say anything about... faction wide, but like the Vanguard carrier they brought in, the Dreadnought cruiser, Heavy Raider, all those initial ships that they brought in, they require you to get to the Mastery 6 to unlock for your account, anyone to fly. So that's a little special, a little different. Now all Vanguard ships have an innate wingman ability, or feature, I guess would be a better way of phrasing it. Essentially, you will have two Vanguard warships that will come in and help you. You have special powers that you can tell them to do things to either attack, which they will then do a strafing run. They'll essentially they teleport the ship from at you, and then they run forward, doing a strafing run when you tell them to do the ability. Not now. And as you can see, this is what the little UI here is with the two ships. You can link their powers so that way when you tell them to go do something. I was hoping they were going to show up even outside DS9. They were there temporarily. Anyway, there are 15 cross-faction Dominion ships in the game. 2 of them come from Lobby, 3 come from Lockbox, 2 from promo ships. Then there's the 1 legendary and 1 Phoenix, and the rest are all Zen. Now, I don't know if the some of those are tier 5, and I don't know if they're still there. I haven't looked. And when I say that, for like, I think one of the Lobby and one of the Phoenix one were tier 5 ships.
The tier 5 should be.
But yeah. And that's how a lot of people get the bug. Like the attack ship is one of the special ships. Then there's also, yeah, there's the Jem'Hadar or Dreadnought cruiser. There's the Jem'Hadar, or I guess Dreadnought carrier, which I have on another tune. But yeah, that's anything else about the Dominion. Your home base is DS9 essentially.
I think you covered it. You want to switch over to your KDF Jem'Hadar so we can follow Tabby around for this last segment here? I will toss you an invite. Tabby, you have the reins.
All right, so Klingons.
I suddenly want to play the Klingon theme song.
What makes Klingons so special? What makes them so different? Well, they are the most combat-focused, combat-oriented faction, as one would expect from being a warrior race. Sub-factions that have been incorporated into the game are the Discovery Klingons, which are accessible via a drop-down menu when Klingon is selected on the Choose Your Species page. You also have the Kelvin Klingons, which is actually accessible through the Lobby store for outfit and jewelry. Now, it's not truly a sub-faction, as there's no real unique episodes or stories. It's just kind of more of a cosmetic option, but it's technically still there. We really only have a single planet to visit, which is Kronos. And we have the first city in the Klingon Academy. And our Temporal Agent is located there, in the first city. And our shipyard is right over there, which is another place to visit. So if you want to like do any things with your ships, so there's actually a third place to visit, technically.
Is there?
First city, Klingon Academy, and the shipyard.
I guess you can count the shipyard as a separate location. You do have a loading screen to get there.
It's a loading screen to get there. It's a separate, discrete location.
I always considered it part of the first city, but that's fair.
Wave at the transporter officer.
Yep, who has been replaced.
The transporter officer has has a history. So if you ever have time, chat with him and figure out what happened. And this is a much better view than the shipyard, than the space dock, honestly, or space dock.
Yeah.
You get. So as I mentioned during the Federation segment, cross-faction flying is unlocked for free upon getting your first KDF tune up to level 65. Don't pay for it; you can get it for free. It's unlocked account-wide, and KDF battleships are usable by all factions. They use, and of course, like 90% of your other races in the game, Klingon ships use matter-antimatter cores, unlike the special snowflake Romulans.
That was nice. So something I did not put in the notes, but I think we should talk about is a lot of the uniqueness with the KDF faction has kind of been done away with over the years that the game's been in operation. Originally, the KDF were a combat only faction. There were no storylines. You just had to do PvP combat in order to level. It made life really interesting. They were also originally the only faction that had melee weapons that were easy to get. The Federation had some Lurpas that they could get, but they were all hidden behind, hidden areas on maps and whatnot. Now over the years that has been mitigated largely. The Federation has many different melee weapons. Klingons still primarily use batleths, but there have been others added in. But those changes were, things that came later. A lot of the storyline for the Federation, while it is combat oriented, a lot of it is like you tried to talk first and it didn't work, or somebody else tried to talk first and it didn't work. The Klingons, though, they're like, you're just gonna go kill these people. Just go do it. They don't even bother with a rhyme or reason. It's just go do the thing, because you're told to go do it. And I still think when they added the storyline into the Klingons, they missed an opportunity, because they could have done a lot of the same missions that the Federation had, but just tell it from the opposite perspective. And they didn't do it that way. They wrote an entirely unique storyline, which is fine. But
That's a
I
missed
think,
opportunity, though.
yeah, I think there was an opportunity there that they could have done. Now, several of those missions have been removed from the Federation storyline. There's a whole segment with the Guardian of Forever and Section 31 and some other things that have been removed. The Klingons have not had that problem, but the Klingons didn't have a storyline to start with, so we're kind of lucky to have what we have. And then the ships too, and again, this has largely been mitigated. When the game first launched, the Federation only had 3 types of ships. You had your escorts, your science ships, and your cruisers. The Klingons, on the other hand, they had raiders, raptors, and battle cruisers. So the 2 factions actually had different types of ships, but these days, especially with cross-faction flying, that's largely gone away, and there are Federation raiders and there are KDF, warships and KDF escorts now. So it's all largely been done away with. But I just wanted to bring that up real quick.
Largely flavor. What flavor do you want?
Oh, I will say, so all the other factions, when you get to the storyline, as we mentioned, you choose. Do you want to be allied with the Federation or with the Klingons? The Federation and the Klingon empires are still diametrically opposed, because the coding for the game cannot be changed. The storyline of the game is we're actually allies again. We are friends, taking on the bigger threats to the galaxy side by side, just like the Klingons and Federation have done through all of TNG and most of DS9. So that is still our storyline now. But the coding of the game, when the game was created, they did the whole red versus blue thing, and the KDF was red and the Federation was blue. And apparently that code is so hardwired into the game that they cannot erase it. So storyline wise, we're friends. Game design wise, we're not, and that's why the other factions, the Romulans and the Dominion, have to choose whose side they want to be on, even though there's not technically a side anymore.
I think they've said that they are or were still looking into it. It's just that when they wanted to get it done, there's just they didn't have enough time. But
That'd
they
be
gave
neat.
us they at least
That
gave
would be
us the
amazing.
the fly any ship. So
It'd be neat to see the faction walls come down. I think that would be really cool, and you could have cross faction fleets and whatnot. Like all that would be really, really neat. But
yeah,
may happen at some point in time in the lifetime of the game. But I'm not going to hold my breath.
I honestly, when they brought in the Romulans, I was hoping that they would let a Romulan centric faction or fleet be possible. I know that would mean new artwork for a lot of stuff, but it would be neat to have in game where sure they could still be part of the Federation or still be part of KDF, but you could have a or like as Briga is saying, Jemadar fleets. But then, like, let's say I wanted to have a all Romulan, just all Romulans and Remans as part of my fleet. I could do that, and it could, yeah, sure, they're still allied with one side or the other. It just,
I feel like so many games just fell into the WoW loop. WoW did this thing where it was red versus blue, the alliance versus the horde, red versus blue, and then like almost every game that came out after that did the exact same thing, and a lot of them really got stuck onto this two faction red versus blue kick. There are games out there that don't. A lot of them are older than WoW. But look at EverQuest. How many factions were there in EverQuest? A lot.
yeah. Well,
But
even in WoW though, like people will create guilds that are, oh, we're only pandas.
well, that's true. But they have cross-faction guilds in WoW now. So
They do now. Yeah, WoW has started to break down that faction barrier.
and there are other games that have as well. But last I heard from the STO devs, it's something they don't have the time to invest in because it would essentially they would have to rewrite all the game code. And that would be a very big project for them, especially for their team size. But that's kind of where we're at. So, and it is past time. Do we know what we're doing next week?
Next week.
Do we ever know what we're doing next week?
We used to be really good about announcing next week we're going to do this. But we've kind of gotten away from that when the holidays hit. So
We'll try and get better about that.
Yeah, next week we will do something, and then we will also announce what we will do the following week next week.
Next week, if people have suggestions on what they would like us to do for a topic to cover, if you have questions about the game or whatnot, we can delve into the details and help you learn more. But yeah, and you can do that by sending either in show in the comments, like in the chat, talk to us and let us know, or you can send email to fleetactionreport@gmail.com. That's a great way to do it.
Actually, Briga, that's not entirely true. The base of STO is 2409, which is out past any of the shows that have been made so far, other than Discovery when they jump to the 32nd century. That's like 800 years ahead of where STO takes place. Um, but outside of that, like even Picard's storyline takes place before where we are at in STO. Um, so no, it is not the base of the TOS timeline. And at the end of DS9 and Voyager, we're all friends.
I would say there's still animosity there. But yes, they have stopped warring.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's true, but at the end of DS9, like, they even Worf leaves the Federation to be, or leaves Starfleet to be the Federation ambassador to Quonos.
Yeah, and
So
lop off some heads.
apparently, so I mean, we're all friends at the end of DS9, and then at Picard, there's no open hostility in the timeline of Picard, but they don't really do a whole lot with the Klingons either. So take that as you will. I suppose if you go all the way back to TOS, then yeah, they were the enemies. And I suppose if they were going to do the red versus blue thing, the Klingons, because so many of their aesthetics are reddish and orange in color on the shows, it made sense to make them the red faction. I just kind of wish the game had never gone that route. I like the back and forth. I would have preferred a flowing faction, what do you want to call it, reputation between the factions, where you could almost have a moving, bar week by week, who's antagonistic towards who, and then you could have had daily missions and stuff, repeatable missions to build, move that bar one way or another. I would have preferred that sort of system to a static red versus blue thing. But hey, that's me.
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
if you want to go
Well,
franchise wise, each show had its, this is who the enemy for the series is.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the Romulan. Actually, originally it was supposed to be the Ferengi for the next gen, but that kind of got put on the back burner, and the Romulans and the Borg kind of became the big baddies.
Yeah.
For TOS, it was definitely the Klingons. For Discovery, it started off the Klingons. I'm not really sure who it is now.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a big bad of the season. Well, they like their mystery boxes.
I guess. For Strange New Worlds, it's currently the Gorn, which I find fascinating. Yeah, I mean, you're
TNG
not wrong.
was Romulan, definitely.
Well, DS9, it was the Dominion.
Yep.
Well, it started with the Cardassians and then became the Dominion.
And then
Yeah.
the
Became the
Dominion and
Cardassians
Cardassians,
again.
and then
For Enterprise, it was definitely the Xindi. They did the bad guy of the week thing for like the first 2 seasons, and then Xindi really hard for like the last 2 seasons. So yeah, I mean, you're right. They all kind of have their own innate big bad that they have to deal with.
All right.
But yeah, so Monday night, for those who are in our stream that don't know, Monday night we do a fun night, which is we're just going to go blow stuff up, and people are welcome to join us. You're welcome to come in and laugh at us, whatever. We do a very lighthearted fun night. Hi, goofball. And then Thursdays are the show Fleet Action Report, which is what you just watched, where we do a more structured talk about aspects of the game. And then so Monday is our next thing for fun night. You guys going to be here?
I plan on it.
Sure.
I mean, it's New Year's.
I don't
That's
know
why
why
I'm asking.
I mean, I'm not really going anywhere.
I will
I will be here. So, all right. Well, I will see everybody Monday night for fun night, and as always, I will see you out there. Stick around.
Have
We're gonna
fun,
raid
be
somebody.
safe, don't set yourselves on fire.
Yeah, live long and prosper, and we'll be right back to raid somebody.